Okay, so this video is documenting an upgrade that I want to make in the research system that I currently use in Obsidian. So I use Canvas, Metadata Menu, Dataview, and DB folder. Those are the main plugins involved in the system, along with a few scripts that I wrote. And the purpose is to log insights from research studies and patents and other evidence sources that I come across, and ultimately come away with takeaways that are basically supported by insights from various evidence sources. Now, the evidence system has many flaws, and it's by no means perfect. If you saw my last video where I demonstrated actually the process I used to derive takeaways or derive insights to support takeaways, and then you saw how inefficient it can be and how cumbersome it can be. But I do think that the visual aspect of the canvas and being able to quickly connect things and then use scripts to trace back to essentially create a breadcrumb trail, I do think that's incredibly valuable. So I don't think it's worth throwing out the system completely, but basically tackling big issues in order of importance as they come up. And the biggest issue right now that I have with the system is that I can't quickly add new things. It takes a lot of time and intense focus and deliberating over wording to come away with anything that I'm confident in when I currently use the system. And actually, since my initial video documenting the system, I have made a few upgrades. They're not major, but one of them is being able to, well, I've tested out using multiple canvases. And what I found is, because just the sheer surface area that's required for this kind of linking things together, it becomes very difficult to navigate. And so I've created canvases specific to different areas of research that I'm interested in. So this one is nutrition. I've got another one for orthobiologic treatments. I have a few more planned, but just haven't taken the time to dive into those yet. So all this is to say that today, all I'm going to do is add a quick add feature, because I think that should be fairly simple to do, at least to get it up and running. Now, if you want to follow along with the upgrades that I plan to make to the system, or issues that I'm coming across, or just general notes on it, I do keep track of it in this area of my webpage. So I've got public whiteboards. I call the system atomic evidence, kind of like atomic note-taking. And actually, I haven't updated this. I haven't synced it. Although this is up to date. This is how I'm organizing things, evidence sources right now. So you can see my video is transparent. I haven't figured that out in OBS yet. But anyway, so there's like a color scheme. Yeah, so that's that. I've got this I can show, but what I'm finding is that in a separate window, Excalidraw actually won't let me navigate very easily. So these are the upgrades. And so the main upgrade I want to make is quick storage of insights, or quick add for immature insights. So I'm developing quite the backlog of stuff that I want to derive insights from, or that I've got some idea in the moment, or I've got a note that I want to take on something really quickly, but I just don't have the time or the interest in tearing apart the study the way I have here. So you can see here, all it results in is just a lot of procrastinating. And so this was an initial backlog, but in reality, the backlog goes really deep. So to give an idea, and I'm sure this is the same for everybody, it's much easier to accumulate evidence sources than it is to take the time and put the thought into writing down notes on everything. So, I don't need to see it. Anyway, what I need to do is create a new canvas. The way I'm thinking this through is at the end of the day, I want to create a system very similar to this, except it would be the evidence source ties directly to an insight. There's no need to piece anything apart. But it needs to remove some of the real sticking points of this system, which are the amount of time it takes to strip out all of the necessary components of a study or components I'm interested in, combine those together and derive a really deliberately worded insight. I want to tie the study directly to an insight, but that insight could also be tied to other studies. So one of the problems here in these canvases is, for this purpose, is look at how much space it takes up for one study potentially. And then, even there's one study, I don't remember what this was. So I've been interested in a couple of supplements. This one's PQQ. So the effect of PQQ on osteoarthritis. So I had this grand idea that I'd been making progress, on some of these studies, but there were so many more that I wanted to do. I thought, okay, well, what if I just go ahead and piece out the source content? Then the next day I could come back and derive the insights. Well, that next day never came, and it's waiting there for me to do. So, in some cases it can take up tons of space to, derive the insights that I want to from a study. And what that does is it creates huge gaps between insights that I connect to multiple different things. So, for example, here, this is the FDA guidance for dosing, right? So if I'm logging a lot of animal studies, I'm going to use the dosing table. I'm going to tie that to a lot of things. And what that means is, look at all this. Look at how far I have to tie these things together. This is going all the way down here. And as I add more studies, it's just going to get larger or longer and longer and longer. So I want direct study to insight. And what that could look like potentially is it'd be much easier. I can keep everything in one column, and I can move things around. I could even, open up a column and add things in block in one area and have them all connected to one insight, because, in many cases it's some supplement I'm interested in, and there are several studies on that supplement and one particular outcome. Anyway, I think it can be done pretty quickly. I can do it in one canvas, and I can use one script to trace back and find the original studies. So that's my thinking right now. Let's dive in. So the first step is going to be What I'm going to need, I'll need a canvas, I'll need a new database folder, and I'll eventually need another script, and then I'll begin testing it. So I'll create the canvas. So unfortunately I can't show all this because this is my personal vault. So I'll create a canvas. And this is just going to be quick notes. Now, I need to do I have to add a new class. No, I don't need to add a new class. I've got my research links class. That's what I have to do. I'm going to test this out. Yeah. Okay, so since my last video, what I do is create one file class. So research links is what I call the file class itself. But I need a separate field for each of the canvases. So I'll create a new field name. It's a risk to call it quick notes because I'll likely end up with multiple canvases named. That will be some version of quick notes. But we'll see. I may not need multiple canvases in the future because the idea is that it's not permanent. It's not. I don't want it to be permanent. It will probably be permanent for some notes that I just never take the time to fully flesh out. But the idea is not to just use this to accumulate massive quantities of immature notes. It would be a place for things to go quickly, and then even over time I could say, okay, this insight looks like it is it's becoming pretty popular, right? So I might as well begin turning that into like actually fleshing that out and diving really deep into that research. Or it could just be something that's really prudent or something I'm super interested in. Say, okay, this supplement, I had a quick note on it, looked really cool. Let me go deeper, see if it's actually worth testing out. So anyway, this is not supposed to be, it's a catch-all, but it's not supposed to be, hopefully it doesn't get too bloated. We'll see what the future holds. So I just add the field name quick notes, save it, and oops, that needs to be canvas. Oh, I've already made a mistake. Trash it. That's interesting. So the drop-down menu is appearing on this screen. Okay. So it's tied to the Quick Notes canvas and direction of I want outgoing links. So that's done. I believe I just have to test this out now. So what I'm going to do is take I think these are all organized. Yeah, so I'm interested in keto diet and osteoarthritis. So let's say I've added this to the Quick Notes canvas. Let me create a group. So this is evidence sources. And insights. So now what I need is, nope, these, I need to get my wording straight. These are the quick notes. So I will create a database or a DB folder called Quick Notes. So create the folder called Quick Notes, and now turn that into a database folder, also called Quick Notes. And now, placeholder. If you saw my demo video, this is what I like to do, because as I'm trying to word whatever the insight, or in this case the quick note is, there's just not much working space here, so instead I go ahead and make a bunch of placeholders and then I can change the titles as I go. So I'm gonna make this look better, maybe. All right. What I've noticed is that these database folders, they do not like being moved from window to window. Yep. If I do this. Hmm. So strange. Anyway, I have a folder. It's called Quick Notes. It's a database folder. And now, do I need to do anything else? I don't think there's anything specific to do with the folder. Oh, I'll add the file class, right. So what I'll have to do is come up with a template for this. Probably most important is just to have the research links file class. So let's create a template. See if this works. I don't know if this script will actually work. Although it might, since they're direct links. We'll see. Again, might as well look at the script. Oh, that's the, I think I've modified this one. It's the public one. Yeah, I think this should work. So luckily, I don't think I need to update the script. File class research links, and let's make this automatically publish to the website. So I use a plugin called Digital Garden. That's what this website is created from. It's a free alternative to Obsidian Publish. And it has some benefits and drawbacks compared to Obsidian Publish. I mean, one positive is that it's free. The second is that it works with Dataview. So you can see on here that if you want to trace back through any of the takeaways, for example, then it shows the scripts work. And so these tables are created properly. What am I saying? So Right, I need to add that to publish these automatically, or to make them automatically available for publish. Okay. Now, unfortunately, that means that I jumped the gun with all of these quick notes that I just made. Oh, that worked. Okay, cool. So it works if I click and drag directly from the folder structure into a new window, it works. But if I open it in one window and drag it to another, then it doesn't work. Anyway, let oh, perfect. It already has it set up to read from the templates folder automatically. So what I'll do is just delete these. It's doing it again. The drop down is appearing in a different window. Okay. Get rid of that. There we go. So I'll create a bunch of these. And now add one of them. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Perfect. All right, so I think that's it. So let me demonstrate this. Let's knock out this backlog. These have been staring me in the face. You know, I can actually boom. So that's already in here. Let's see, what do I want to store about this study? How deep do I want to go? The idea is that I would just be able to store something quickly. So as the workflow looks right now, it's actually still fairly involved. I go, in general, I would go from my RSS feed to PubMed, download that into Zotero. So that would extract all the metadata, and then from there I copy the citation key into here as the file name. I copy the citation, and in an effort to organize things better and to separate them into canvases, I believe that was the original reason I started adding basically tags in different columns, was because I didn't have a great way to quick add notes. I mean, I do want to keep everything organized better. But I began adding study details. So I would add it into here, and then I would add the note category. And what that allows for is the DB folder plugin has a really cool option to filter out, or to automatically populate with files of a certain type. So I've actually created 9 new DB folders. You can see the organization in here, depending on how up to date this is. So if it's a note category, that means that I've dedicated a new database folder to it to more easily organize the details for it. So I'm interested in diagnostics, so like imaging and blood markers, nutrition, orthobiologics, orthobiologic treatments, activities, different things. And so I can show one of those. So here's the nutrition one. How did I do this? Yeah. So in the settings, you go to select the source of database data, use a query, and then you word the query in this way. So for me, it's from this location where contains this field and link. In this case, it's a link to a tag basically. So if in if the folder, if a note in the folder that houses these notes has this as the note category, relational field, value, then it populates in here, which is really cool. So, what am I getting at? What am I doing? Where am I? Yeah, so what do I want to do? How did I get off on that tangent? So this works. This works. Now I want to get rid of my backlog. Oh yeah, so I was going through the workflow. Yeah, so I would log, the new evidence source and then organize it. And then from there, I can add more study details to it. So in this case, to try to narrow down, because I've accumulated hundreds of studies in Zotero. And in an effort to narrow down exactly which ones I wanted to derive insights from, now that I've got a system to do that, I began organizing things. And so that's where all this was going. So I began organizing all the studies. And then, so I've been really interested in urolithin A. Then I can find all the urolithin A studies and derive insights from them. So that's the workflow so far. So that's all to say that the workflow is actually still fairly involved, but still this should be much less involved than tearing apart a study and deriving insights from it. So let's try to get rid of this backlog here. What do I want to say about this study? Let's get rid of all this stuff. I mean, really, ideally, I would just be looking at the abstract. And in many cases, especially with newer studies, that will often be all I have access to. Yeah, how would I want to do this? I mean, the title pretty much says it all. I think the title says everything. So, in this case, the important thing is the ketogenic diet reduces progression of osteoarthritis via NLRP3 inhibition. So there it is. I mean, that's the key takeaway from this study. Until I dive into it and see if it's, if I agree with it, or there's some detail that I'm not missing or that I'm not getting. What I would be really interested in tearing apart that kind of study would be what kind of BHB level did the animals stay at? Was there calorie restriction involved? Was there protein restriction involved? And those types of things. But really I would need to tear it apart to get deep into that those sorts of insights. All right, on to the next. Oh, I don't have the PDF. Come back to that one. Don't have that PDF. Really helps to have the PDF. Oh, this is funny. How about I try for one more at least? Here we go. Okay, so this looks like what it's showing is I think the main takeaway is about forskolin and IVD degeneration. Yeah, and the other part's interesting, but injecting forskolin into disc. Actually, it says local injection. Well, I'll come back to it. Anyway, this could be forskolin inhibits progression of IVD degeneration. Looks like it works. That still works. Cool. So anyway, it looks like this new system is working for adding quick notes. So now I'll be testing it and trying to get through my backlog and on to the next. So anyway, I'm Zach. This is part of my learning journey. And if you have any ideas, let me know. See ya.